Yes. And then they launch into the chorus to the approval of a nodding sexagenarian who is roosted in between a fist pumping Frank and some dodgy looking fucking type who's mouthing the words. Um, hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. My name's John, his name is Andy. He seemed impressed by the way you came in. Tell us a story. I know you're not boring. More on that later. But first, we have a track to listen to. Andy, what have you got for us today?
I have a track called Not Everyone, and it is performed live on Channel M, something you're probably more familiar with than I am, at least I would think. And it is by a band called Nine Black Alps. Any familiarity with any of that? Maybe Channel M? I don't know.
Channel M. I've got some vague bells ringing. And the words ringing are students and Manchester.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about I know something about it for some reason or other. I'm sure you'll elucidate afterwards. But yeah, no, Nine Black Alps. No.
Okay. Well, please go and check them out on Channel M performing the song Not Everyone. And let me know what you think of the song, the band, the performance, uh, the aesthetics, whatever. But I'm interested to hear what you have to say. So go off, give it a listen, my friend.
Will do. I was about to start singing about Frank Sidebottom, bless him. There's a good story about him. I'll tell Andy when we discuss this, but I'd love to see Frank. Let's just go back a second. Okay, so I'm getting bits and pieces. It's pretty clear. It's got this sort of it's definitely got this sort of 90s sound to it. British kind of pre Britpop sound where they took American sound and sort of made it our own. It has more what's there's more sort of interest and depth to the guitar sound, whereas that sort of compressed sound from Nirvana on was just very simple. It seemed to be the American sound. Um, I'm generalizing, obviously. Yeah, he's got the delivery. It's not exactly like Cobain, but it's in the same postcode, but it's quite deadpan, slacker sort of delivery as well. If he had more energy, you could say there was sarcasm there, but it's kind of like almost a snare, almost a whine, snine, weird. But yeah, it sounds great. Because stuff. Frank Sidebottom means that Channel M. That's noughties, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. Oh, interesting. I don't remember this sort of stuff being knocking around in the noughties, but there you go. Yeah, sounds good. That sounds like a bit like Mudhoney. Okay, we'll go back to that for a second. Yeah, ignore what I said before. This is full Nirvana. It's, so that bit before did sound. It reminded me of Mudhoney. Which song it was? Anyway, and then we go into this chorus, which is just like hugely Nirvana. It's good to see him put some more oomph into it, and then we get sitting there next to Frank, who's pumping his arms away. Get this sexagenarian, this grey-haired lady nodding approval, and then the guy sitting next to her looks really dodgy as well. It's really odd. Okay. Tapping away there. This is weird. What's this?
To fall behind, they bleed you dry and blow your mind. Now you've lost control, you've let it show, and now no one knows. Not everyone deserves a son. Not everyone is far too loud. Not everyone can turn you on. Yeah.
Well, that sounds nice.
Not everyone deserves a son. Not everyone is far too long. Not everyone can turn you on. Yeah. Not everyone deserves a night. Not everyone deserves to die. Not everyone can bleed you dry. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I enjoyed that. It was a really nice performance, actually. Great energy. It's a bit brief. Um, I really liked. So in the second verse, he stopped for a minute and was doing a bit of sonics out of his guitar that sounded really nice. It started to get more and more dissonant. The lead guitar. I really like that. Run through the pre-chorus, chorus again, and then coming out of it, what your man, I'll call it the rhythm guitar, was doing there, it was really nice effect there. So it's furious, and then as it slowed down, it sounded like feedback circling around a plug hole and then disappearing. I get those too brief. Could done a bit more of that, a lot more of that actually. Sounded great. Um, when they weren't trying to do the catchy Nirvana chorus, I think they sounded much and coming out of it when they were just, you know, doing their thing. They sounded a lot more effective and interesting. Really, it's very much a sort of Nirvana light chorus. It's all right, but you know, I've heard so many bands trying to copy Kurt and the Boys in the 90s. It just wasn't funny anymore. Um, But yeah, this sounded good. I just don't remember this being around in like the noughties. This sort of sound. But yeah, easily missed, I guess. Um, We shall have to find out more. Let's go back and chop it up with Andy.
All right, welcome back. So, what did you think of everything with the suggestion, John? I'm jonesing to hear what you have to say.
Okay. There's a few interesting points in this, one of which I don't think you'll know about. But so it begins with a nice firm beat, not quite green banana, but getting that way. And that sort of double striking the toms is the time-honored way of announcing we have guitars for you, which may be caustic in nature. And in they do come, wearing a T-shirt which says "I heart the '90s." And there's a really nice sound to them. I mentioned the reaction. It's this pre-Britpop alternative, very British sounding guitar, that golden segment of, I'd say, 1990s to 93 sound to it. It's where it kind of took the American sounds that were prior to it and developed them to our fair isles. So you have, how to say this without being rude, I don't know, but the guitars back then, they seem to be more the British sounding guitars, alternative, although there was lots of distortion and interesting shit going on. The guitars themselves, the melody of them were more important, whereas I think the Americans went the way of more percussive sounding, with their compression and distortion. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't multi-layered sounds to it, which you get in the British. I'm generalizing, of course, and you could probably name 100 bands from each side of the pond, which had the converse. Yeah. But anyway, that's kind of made me think, oh, this is British sounding, and it sounds from that time. However, and this is not the first time I should say, however, there was one unexpected clue which dates this, and that is the idiosyncratic Frank Sidebottom. God, I love him. That's the guy with the paper mache head. I don't know if you're familiar with Frank Sidebottom.
I fell down a rabbit hole, a Frank Sidebottom rabbit hole when I saw this. So yes.
So I do know that he was on Channel M, and that's probably the only reason I know about Channel M is because of Frank Sidebottom, and it was in the noughties, mid-noughties, I believe. I actually saw Frank Sidebottom performing at Reading Festival in 1992, which I think a lot of people would say is one of the greatest festival lineups of all time. And I have an unreliable memory. So, this may or may not have happened, but I definitely saw him at the Comedy Tent. And I think it was the night where there was a hurricane. Not really. But it was very windy. And basically, so you got this massive tent, almost like a circus tent, that had several hundred, if not more, people around it. And all the guide roads snapped and it started rising up and flapping around. Oh, wow. And people were saying, we must evacuate for your own safety. And the crowd was sitting there drinking beer going, fuck off, we're not moving. And we had several hundred people singing one of his songs, which is Guess Who's Been on Match of the Day? You have in your big shorts. And we were singing Timpoli, all this sort of stuff. And it's thanks, something like this. I have. I really have. Yeah, I fucking loved it. It was great. So anyway, it's lovely to see Frank Sidebottom there. It really was. Big. A lot of people got sort of real soft spot for him, and semi-tragic figure, I guess. But yeah, anyway, you could do a whole episode on him easily. Not the music, just his antics. So anyway, the singer gets going. Back to the band. And there's more than a hint of the grunge era about his kind of tone. It's not exactly Cobain, but it's in the same postcode or zip code, as you would say. There's some really nice sort of chugging from I'll call it the rhythm guitar, second guitar, that lets the verse sort of flow nicely. It lays down the track, so it's quite there. I catch words here and there. It's pretty clear, to be fair, but sometimes I'm concentrating the words, sometimes I'm not. And it's interesting. It's halfway between a sneer and a whine. So a weir, snine. Anyway, I'm sure there's sarcasm in there, but it's kind of, he hasn't quite got the energy. So it's fairly deadpan, almost slacker delivery. And it's like, but it's just something about it's not the first, not the last to hold me back and stuff like that. It's, standard stuff, I guess. And then it turns into the pre-chorus section. And it almost sounds like a sort of cleaned up Mudhoney bit there as he sings, I've seen the light. And really nice. And then they launch into the chorus to the approval of a nodding sexagenarian who has roosted in between a fist pumping Frank and some dodgy looking fucking type who's mouthing the words. Um, and it's this awful floppy hair and suit and tie. It looks like, I think it's probably management or from the label. Yeah, he gave me bad vibes. He did. Um, anyway, so yeah, Granny like, and they're clapping at one point. There's
Yeah.
like three of them clapping. We're like, what the fuck? Anyway, so ignore what I said before about it not being full. They go full fucking Nirvana for the chorus.
Yeah.
Singer declares not everybody deserves the sun, which is that sort of choppy beat of the Seattle sound.
Yeah.
The rhythm guitar's got his classic head down, but he does need to get that fringe a bit longer, I think. But he's doing a good job. And the bass guitar is also, I don't know, someone's been pissing around with his GPS because he was bouncing around like he didn't know what the hell was going on. But he got a very steady work with the bass. It was nothing like, but it's just doing what it needs to be doing. We come out of the chorus, and there's a little bit of a sort of fluctuation of the guitars, and we go into the next verse where the lead guitarist drops down. It's the same structure as before, so the verse wise, pre-chorus, chorus. But he let some really nice sort of effects, or come out of his lead guitar, sort of bursting through these little sort of bit of feedback and stuff like free radicals going out into the world. I'd enjoyed that a lot. So we get the pre-chorus again, Mudhoney-ish again, chorus again. There's even that little squeak on the yeah. Really, really Nirvana. I really laugh out loud. And then they do rock out briefly afterwards, which I really liked actually. And then I don't know what effect you'll know the rhythm guitar's doing, but you get this weird shot for about a second of the guitar dangling between his legs like
Yes.
some sort of prolapse or something. I don't know what's going on there. But the actual sound of it is just really nice. It sounds like feedback slowly circling and then disappearing down a plug hole.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Really lovely. Sadly, it's all too brief, but I mean, it's a very short song. So it would be weird if that went on for a minute. But it was sad, if it had gone on longer and the whole song was longer, I wouldn't have had a problem with that.
Yeah.
We come back in for sort of a double quick run through the chorus and then we're out. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I think in terms of it was a really quick song, it was energetic, had a lovely overall sound. I was saying on the reaction, I don't mid noughties, I think this is, or noughties anyway. I don't remember hearing anything else like this around then. Obviously, it has it's interesting because bits of it don't sound Nirvana-esque or grunge-esque, and then the chorus particularly does. But it's got a nice quality to it. I really enjoyed it actually, and they've got a nice overall sound. The band, I don't remember anything about them at all, so I don't know how successful this was. But yeah, this is really decent. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad you did. I've known about the song for a while, and you and I had a while, years, and you and I have been talking about grunge so much recently. For whatever reason, it's making its way into some of our conversations, and I was like, man, I wonder if John. I'd be surprised if John hadn't heard of it. No, it's whatever. There's plenty of bands I haven't heard of. Who am I to judge? But I just thought, oh, of course you probably. And then I asked you, and you were like, no. I was like, okay, let me go find like just a random, upload. And I found this fucking live performance, which is one of the most surreal things I've ever seen. Like it's this old woman, like she belongs, not even just like it's odd and ironic. Like she was like, yeah. And your man with the weird head, the side bottom bro dancing next to her. And the to me and to my ears, this very American sound coming out 10 years too late and a continent too far. It was just all really odd. And then there's like three young guys that were like getting down to it, and it showed that just all the angles were weird. All of it was really cool. And I was like, oh my God, if John has never heard of it, I can't wait to hear what he says about this very odd 3.5 minute performance or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So it tickled me to find this. It was all that much more impetus for me to bring it to the channel and give it to you. So I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you caught a lot of
Yeah.
fun and weird shit I did. So
I'd
yeah.
not seen or even thought of Frank Sidebottom in many years, so that instantly was a big tick in my head.
Yes.
Let alone the clapping granny and
Yeah.
fucking weird shit and the other stuff as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then yet it looked, I mean, I guess because Channel M is this like regional, probably like poorly funded, you know, television channel that was debunked within 12 years. It was gone or whatever. It kind of had it had that stink about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't we're not funded very well. This isn't filmed very cleanly, and yet all of that I found oddly charming and part of like its allure to me. So I'm just like, oh, this is so
I'm
cool.
I'm amazed it lasted 12 years.
Right. Yeah. Like, just
I'd have thought
watching
four,
that, I'm
five
surprised.
drops. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, the band Nine Black Alps, they were an English alternative rock band formed in 2003 in Manchester. And from 2011 until their split, the band consisted of vocalist guitarist Sam Forrest, guitarist David Jones, and if that's your man on the Telecaster, the deluxe Telecaster, the sustain on that guitar during that part where it's just like this cat in heat type sound. I fucking loved that, man. It was so the perfect amount of like irritated. And I when I saw that, and I'm a sucker for the stage presence. Him just leaned over, just making it happen. I just, oh, that's so cool. So yeah, David Jones, drummer James Galley, and bassist Carl Asbury. From their inception in late 2003, the band's energetic live performances earned them a hardcore fan base after playing for only a few months on the Manchester music scene. In 2004, the band signed to Island Records and spent the year touring the UK and recording their first studio album with producer Rob Schnaff in Los Angeles. In 2005, having completed the album recording, Nine Black Alps toured the UK extensively promoting the release of their debut album, Everything Is, which is actually a really good album. You should maybe, if you like this, well, maybe I'll bring another one on here, but it's definitely worth checking out. This was released on June 13th, 2005. The band supported the Kaiser Chiefs for part of their UK tour in April of 2005, and later Weezer in August when they toured the UK. The band also performed at 2005's Glastonbury Festival, Tea in the Park, V Festival, and the Reading and Leeds Festival. Also in 2005, Nine Black Alps performed in Japan at the Winter Sonic Mania Festival in February, and later that year returned to play Club Quattro venues in Tokyo and Osaka. The band also spent time touring Northern Europe, including France, the Netherlands, and Germany, and also supported the Kaiser Chiefs in Scandinavia. The band also ventured to the U.S., playing at the South by Southwest Festival in Austin, Texas, and making a short tour of the Northeast. During February 2006, Nine Black Alps set off for a final Everything Is UK tour with their Manchester friends, The Long Cut, as support. This was Nine Black Alps' largest and most successful UK tour to date, and included sold-out headline shows at Manchester Academy and an Enemy Shockwaves award show at the Hammersmith Palais. Nine Black Alps toured the U.S. extensively during 2006, including several performances at South by Southwest Festival in Austin, Texas, and a performance at the Coachella Festival in April on April 28th of the same year. On October 18th, 2006, NME.com reported that they were working on the follow-up to Everything Is, recording with Oasis and Jet producer Dave Sardy in Los Angeles, California. The band's second album, Love Hate, was released on October 29th, 2007. In November of that year, Nine Black Alps supported Biffy Clyro on the Scottish leg of their UK tour, and Black Rebel Motorcycle Club as well. On the back of this, Nine Black Alps brought the Love-Hate era and their partnership with Island Records to a close with a successful UK headline tour in January and February of 2008. The band's third studio album, Locked Out from the Inside, was released on October 5th, 2009, and was promoted by a UK-wide tour. In 2010, it was revealed that the band had started demoing new material for their fourth album as a three-piece in early May. Bass player Martin Cohen left the band in early 2011 to pursue his solo project Milkmaid, with whom he is signed to Brighton-based label Fat Cat Records. He was eventually replaced by Carl Asbury, formerly of the band The Witches. Also in 2011, David Jones became the touring second guitarist in the Cribs following the departure of Johnny Marr. In June 2012, it was announced that Nine Black Alps had signed with Brew Records to release their fourth studio album, Sirens. After Brew announced that they were going to close in 2013, Nine Black Alps were announced as the first signing for new label Hatch Records, with the new single Novocaine released on December 2nd, 2013. The band's fifth album, Candy for Clowns, was released in May 2014, but following a handful of shows supporting the Cribs, the band quietly disbanded. The track we listened to today was featured on the band's debut album, the aforementioned Everything Is. The album generally received favorable reviews among critics and heralded acclaim from portions of the British music press, earning the band a loyal fan base following in the UK. 5 singles were released from the album: Cosmopolitan, Shot Down, Not Everyone, Unsatisfied, and Just Friends. And Mike Davis of Drowned in Sound reviewed the album and wrote, "Get Your Guns and Not Everyone are early album romper stompers that rock the verse-chorus-verse grunge thing a la Nerva, oh you fucking know already, nah." Circa their Butch Vig, Sugary, and damn fine songs they are too. So, reviewing the album for The Guardian, Caroline Sullivan would write, "Avoiding the tunelessness trap that has claimed rival brick grungers such as," and brace yourself here, Lost Prophets. "Nearly every song comes with a chorus, though not at the expense of sales-generating monster chords. The Foo Fighters come to mind on the gallop through the gravel pit that is Cosmopolitan, and again on Unsatisfied, which offsets a crazily catchy hook line with a lyric that wallows in despondency. Most tracks here are similarly steeped in triumphal Americanized rock that is inspired by melodic noisemakers from the Foos to the Pixies." And Chris Long at BBC would write, "Everything has taken the band's obvious love of grunge and moved it forward, creating something that stands with a toe in the sea of angst, guitar troubles, and a fist punching a sky full of blistering bass ripping. It's an album as powerfully intense as a breakless juggernaut. It is, against the odds and the inevitable pressures of expectation, the finest debut album of the year." So, lofty words there. Let's jump into these lyrics. "Hey, you're not the first, you're not the last to hold me back. Yeah, it's such a shame, it's such a waste to hesitate. Now I've seen the light, I've heard the sound of bringing others down. Not everyone deserves the sun. Not everyone not everyone lives for too long. Not everyone can turn you on. Yeah." Just that, yeah, that's such a grunge thing, just adding a superfluous, yeah. "Strange what people say about your face, the way it changed. It's hard to fall behind. They bleed you dry and blow your mind. Now you've lost control, you've let it show, and now no one knows. Not everyone deserves the sun. Not everyone lives for too long. Not everyone can turn you on. Yeah. Just say my name, just say my name, just say my name, just say. Not everyone deserves a song. Not everyone lives for too long. Not everyone can turn you on. Yeah." And then that bit repeats itself again before the song comes to a close. Yeah, I heard this and I was like, this is the first time I think I've truly heard Brit grunge. Like, I've heard Brit rock that has been like, I will sample a bit of this grunge sound and incorporate, but this to me sounded very grunge forward. Maybe not always like Nirvana in the song, but it still had the shade of that very early 90s grunge sound, which to a kid born in 83, that's home. I mean, that's right when I was like, oh my God, I'm discovering my own taste in music. I've inherited the reverence from the stuff my older brother and father passed on to me, but now, so this just kind of, in a weird way, took me back. And it was interesting to have a band from Manchester do that for me. I love plenty of bands from Manchester, but to make me feel that homey feeling was really neat and cool experience to hear a band from England do that for me. So thanks for giving this a listen and giving it a watch, John. I appreciate your
My pleasure.
insight. And maybe I'll bring another track off this really good first album by these guys. I think the Metacritic was in the high 70s, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, not bad. Pretty admirable. And you almost know, it's almost implied that the few detractors in the critic scene were just saying Nirvana pastiche, and therefore I can't like it. And they were just sort of being gatekeepery about
Yeah.
Exactly. So take that high 70s with a grain of salt. In my opinion, it probably could have been easily a low 80s Metacritic score. But anyway, thanks for giving this a listen, John. Guys out there, thanks for giving it a listen. Let us know what your thoughts are on this very interesting band. This track does have super shades of Nirvana, but as the critics would suggest, they tap into some other sounds a la Pixies, Foo Fighters as well. Definitely worth checking out. So yeah, let us know what you think of Not Everyone by Nine Black Alps, this performance. If you know anything else about Channel M or Mr. Sidebottom, feel free to drop that. John had an anecdote about experience. Anybody else out there run into Mr. Sidebottom in the wild? I'd love to hear about this story. This guy is become oddly my muse for whatever reason. He looks like a grown-up version of Stewie from Family Guy, a show over here. He has the same sort of shaped head, but he's a baby. And I'm like, this is what he would look like in adulthood. So please, guys out there, let us know what you think of this. Any other suggestions for us, please drop them down in the comments field below. Maybe like, share, or subscribe if you'd be so inclined. We really do appreciate it, and it helps us here at the channel. And hopefully John and I will catch all y'all in growing numbers on the next installment of the Audiophiles. We'll see you later, guys.